Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of the Autoimmune Rehab podcast, where, as always, you can find and download show notes and listen to all the episodes at autoimmunerehab.com. Today's episode, I have a topic that has been hotly requested. This is something that many of my clients and customers encounter, or even people that I'm following on social media are constantly asking me about. And it's something that has been a really important part of my journey, but it's also been a pretty difficult part. I'm not going to lie. And that is the topic of how to get rid of, or at least, I don't know if I want to claim that you can totally get rid of, at least manage and control your cravings, and more specifically, cravings to sugar. Because as we all know, sugar is really not good for your health. And there are every day more and more studies coming out talking about the problems with sugar and how we have a really epidemic in this country of sugar, that is causing skyrocketing rates of diabetes, among all other kinds of things. And sugar is really, really not good for you if you have any kind of an autoimmune disorder. You really should be giving up sugar, or at least, 95% of the time, if we will. I don't want to say that it's going to be so terrible and drastic for your health that you literally can never, ever have any sugar. Like, maybe you can have a little treat on your birthday or Christmas or something. But the reality is that you really should give up sugar as much as you possibly can. And this is something that I have been on a mission to do within the last year or so. And, I can't honestly say that I have 100% given up sugar, but I can say that I've gone about 98% sugar free. And especially when it comes to anything where sugar is the primary ingredient in that food. So, the sugar that I do get is still typically like a little bit in like some organic ketchup or certain kinds of dressings or things where sugar is not the predominant ingredient, but there still might be a little bit of sugar in it. And so, with no further ado, let's get started with talking about this topic of how to kiss your cravings goodbye, or how to bust your sugar cravings. So, I've pretty much started by addressing by why you need to give up sugar, but let me delve into this a little bit more and share with you that I have noticed things by giving up sugar, things like that sugar will even impact things like my knees will hurt more when I have sugar. I am tired when I have sugar. And there have even been studies that say that sugar feeds the growth of things like candida, bad bacteria in your gut. Sugar can even feed cancer, all kinds of things. So it's really, really important that you stop the sugar, but yet it's a lot easier said than done. I can sit there and say, oh, well, give up sugar. And more than likely, especially if you're listening to this and have been on any kind of a health journey, that giving up sugar is important. But how do you actually succeed at giving up sugar? So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the reasons behind why you get those cravings for sugar. And then we'll talk about what to do when you get for a craving for sugar, other than just giving in and, of course, eating it. And so that's going to be the topic of what we're going to talk about today. So why do you get cravings? And well, we're primarily talking about sugar. We could throw in there, why do you get cravings for gluten or dairy, or, really any kind of craving for anything, although we're specifically talking about sugar. So the first reason why a lot of people get cravings, and this is one that is not addressed as much as I feel like it should be, is that you are missing some kind of a mineral or vitamin, or something is missing in your diet that is causing you to have those cravings. So, for example, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that chocolate is really high in magnesium. And so if you're having a really strong craving and wanting chocolate all the time, you may want to try having some magnesium supplements instead, and realize that this can actually, in some cases, even solve your chocolate craving, because you're craving that chocolate because you're deficient in magnesium. And the same thing can be said about a lot of other things. Like, I know, like, I personally, well, I'm definitely not anywhere close to vegan. I try to eat mostly fish, seafood, so a little bit of chicken and turkey. And I've even gone through phases where I was craving chicken really bad. And in that case, I went ahead and just ate some, because it meant that I hadn't had any in a while. And I probably really needed, some of the vitamins and minerals that were in that chicken. So you really want to think about, if you're having a really strong craving for a certain food, and this is especially true if this is something that is not necessarily sugar, but like I said, it can apply to chocolate or other things. what vitamins and minerals might be in that food that you might be missing. And maybe if you take some kind of a supplement, or maybe even find some kind of fruit or vegetable or meat or grain, something healthier that contains that in it that can satisfy that craving, then that will help you. So that's one reason, excuse me, there, where you might really be struggling with cravings, is that you're missing the vitamins and minerals that are in that food. And in that case, you either need to eat the food if it's healthier for you, or you need to find an alternative way to obtain those. So that's one reason. Second reason why you might have cravings, and this especially relates to sugar, is that sugar is super addictive, and the more you eat it or the more you drink things with sugar in it, the more you have a tendency to crave it and to want more and more and more of it. So that's, again, one of the dangers and problems with sugar and things that contain sugar in it, is that you can continue to have such intense cravings that if you satisfy those cravings and eat just a little bit of sugar, especially if it's been a while since you had sugar, you can continuously get on this cycle where you are really craving it and you're constantly want more and more and more of it. So that's another thing. Then the third thing that can cause cravings, and this is another one that sometimes isn't addressed as much as maybe it should be, is that you have a lack of balance or things in other areas of your life. For example, you don't have a satisfactory career, you're struggling with financial issues, you have problems at work, you have problems in relationships, you don't have a satisfactory social life, you're not exercising to the extent you should. And this goes back to the whole wheel of life and the concept of primary foods. And I did a whole episode on primary foods that you can go and search and find and listen to. But the reality is that there are a lot of other things that impact our health and our life other than just food. And if you're having a lot of sugar cravings, then you maybe need to find and address what areas it is that you're lacking in your primary food and other areas in your life. And once you address some of those other areas, then you will retain more balance and you will crave sugar a lot less. This is kind of like the concept that a lot of people will say that you like to eat your feelings, or when you're down, depressed, or stressed, or other things like that, you like to comfort yourself with those things by eating a lot of sugar or giving into those other cravings of unhealthy foods. So that's the other thing that can cause a lot of these cravings. So how exactly then do you go about busting these cravings, and what should you do, when you have the cravings? Well, so the first thing that I tell people, other than obviously trying to obtain as much balance as you can in your life, trying to reduce stress, I don't believe that everybody can eliminate stress, but at least reduce it, is to begin with, to have a really strong why. In other words, know why it is that you're giving up sugar for the sake of your long-term health, and have specific goals in mind. The other thing you also want to do is you want to have some things in your house that you can eat instead. So maybe alternatives would be something like, one of my favorite brands is the Chalk Zero chocolate, which is a chocolate that is sweetened with monk fruit instead of regular sugar, or have some fruit on hand. In other words, have other things that you can eat will satisfy that sweet tooth when you really want some sugar, and get rid of the sugar in your house. In other words, just don't even have sugar or things that contain sugar in your house, and don't go to the grocery store and wander down the cookie and candy and sweets aisle, because that's just going to create a temptation for you. In other words, get rid of it in your life and don't allow it to yourself to be around it. Because I've also found that sometimes, if I start getting a sugar craving, if I just wait it out for an hour or two, then a lot of times it will go away, because it usually is a temporary thing. The other thing too I found is that if I exercise, sometimes that can help get rid of cravings. Also, drinking water can help assist as well. And a couple of other natural things that are really good for helping with cravings would be like grapefruit, whether you want to actually eat a grapefruit or put a drop or two of some grapefruit essential oil in water and drink it, as long as it's, the kind of essential oil that you can take internally. Also, cinnamon is another really good balancer for blood sugars, for weight loss, and for helping with cravings. So you could also, potentially eat something with cinnamon, maybe something like even a healthy bowl of gluten-free oatmeal, and add a little bit of cinnamon and honey to it to help give you that satisfying sweet kick. So, in other words, there are a lot of things that you can eat instead of sugar that can help satisfy that sweet tooth, and other activities that you can do. So, another idea you can have as well is to come up with a lot of different activities of things that you will do and things that you will work on when you are struggling with a sugar craving. So, it could be things like going for a walk, playing with a dog, watching a funny TV show or movie, going and getting a massage, drinking some water, using some different essential oils to help you with overcoming your sugar craving, eating a grapefruit, eating an apple. In other words, just come up with different solutions and ideas of what you can do when you're struggling with those sugar cravings. And ultimately, know that they'll probably never go away 100%. I'm lucky and fortunate in the sense that I don't really have a lot of sugar cravings anymore because I'm far enough in my journey that I have given up enough of the sugar. It's not really that big a deal for me. But every once in a while, I'll struggle a little bit with one, and it usually goes away after about an hour or so, and I just find something else to do. I focus my mind, my concentration, my body on something else. Maybe we'll use like some grapefruit, like or said, or cinnamon, or drink a bunch of water, just other things to help get my mind and my body away from that sugar craving. And I have found that that works really, really well. So, in short, I know that you can do it. I know that you can give up sugar, that it may not be easy, but it can be done. And if you would like to schedule a free discovery session with me, one of the things that we can talk about is giving you some practical ideas, a discovery plan, a strategy session, if you will, for how you're going to start your journey to give up sugar. That's obviously going to be more of a customized one-on-one thing because while this advice is generic and good, it isn't necessarily going to be the personalized path of what will actually help you. So if you'd like to do that, you'll find the link in the show notes, or you can go to annalaurabrown.com/application, and let's find a time to talk about this and see how I can help you out. And in the meantime, I look forward to sharing with you again next week on another episode of the Autoimmune Rehab podcast.